Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. So, the so called stimulus bill has been negotiated out. As of this time, I don't believe it has passed vote in House, Senate, or gone to Trump's desk. But this is not a stimulus. This is not going to stimulate the economy in any way. This is barely barely a survival bill and not much of that. I mean, $300 a week in federal unemployment benefits. Do you understand what federal employment benefits are? Under state unemployment, typically you get 6 months of unemployment benefits. The federal extended unemployment benefits kick in if you have not found employment after those 6 months are up and your state benefits have run out. And, and depending on your state, the federal benefits may be higher or lower. Here in Alabama, federal benefits are higher, but not by a lot. But $300 a week, $1,200 a month. Think about this. Can you survive on $1,200 a month? Add up your monthly basic living expenses right now. Your rent, mortgage payment, food, utilities, your cell phone bill, um, you know, add all of that up. Your car payment, your insurance. Maybe if you are a single person, you might be able to survive on that. I mean, just survive. Yeah, but if you've got a family, no, you're not. $600. Yeah. When was it? March, I think, that the $1,200 stimulus came out. So, yeah, 9 months later, you get $600. Ooh, yeah, time to raise the roof. Don't party too hard on that, okay? Um, yeah, you have probably had, like millions of Americans, you've seen your income drop this year. Your hours have been cut. Here's $600. Don't spend it all in one place. All right? Yeah. So, part of this I had written a few days ago. And, it took them from what time to even negotiate this bill? Yeah, from July or August until now. So at least 5 months for them to negotiate this travesty. Yeah, and need I mention this stimulus bill, this bill, this piece of crap includes $15 billion for the airlines to preserve jobs. Remember, the airlines got $25 billion in the first bill. And they still laid off over 100,000 people. Over 100,000 people laid off. You think $25 billion wasn't enough to pay those wages? No. Now, guess whose wages that went into paying? Because it wasn't yours. If you worked for the airline, it wasn't yours. Um, tax cuts, subsidies, all this stuff for corporations. Yeah, those are all included in this bill. All right. So, what were the details of what held this up for so long? Does it even matter? Does it? Think about it. The details don't matter at all. You know, like I said, this should have been done months ago. Most notably, part of what delayed it was Nancy Pelosi refused to a far stronger, better funded option offered by Steve Mnuchin because she didn't want any stimulus passing while Trump was still the president-elect before the election. She didn't want him to have that win. You know, the deal from Mnuchin would have been at least double the amount of the one that's going through now. And even that was only a shadow of what is truly needed to save so many. All right, so yeah, $300 a month, $600 stimulus. Oh, and by the way, that $600 stimulus, I'm not entirely clear on that. Is that per person, per family, household, what? I don't know. Do you? All right. You know, something I've mentioned before is that this bill will allegedly include extending the eviction moratorium by one single month. Just 1 month. Took them 5 months to pass this. And you think in 1 month, with them being on vacation part of that time, that they're going to pass anything to help people that are at risk of eviction in a month? You think that? Now, I got a bridge I want to sell you. So, any moratorium still does nothing for tenants who continue having debts accumulate and will come due at some point in a lump sum, which they will not be able to pay. Meanwhile, smaller property management companies and landlords continue having to pay on their commercial mortgages, forcing more and more of them out of business. In other words, yeah, helping small business, sure. All right, either that or they can take out a PPP loan if they can get it. If they can get it. Now, this does not simply impact small property owners because we are already seeing the largest mall owners in the country failing as well. Eventually, the moratoriums will end, but the financial conditions of tenants will remain. If they're not able to pay rent now, what makes you think that with this they're going to be able to pay rent then? At that point, when the moratorium ends, there will not only be mass evictions of residents and small businesses, it will be coupled with mass bankruptcies of individuals and businesses as the debts come due. One effect of this will be the absolute collapse of the equity real estate industry. Property values for commercial properties will plummet to a degree this country has never ever seen before. It may result in the largest corporate investors buying up huge numbers of properties for pennies on the dollar in foreclosure. But that will not happen for quite some time. There will be no point immediately when there will be a market for tenants of those properties that have the ability to pay rent. Once it does occur and they buy up all the properties, the result will be that the elite oligarchs will not only possess 80% of the wealth, but assume title to a significant majority percentage of the physical property in the United States. For all the rest of the property, the tenants will be indebted to and concurrently fully dependent in some way on these corporate oligarchs. I pointed out that this could have been avoided. All of this could have been avoided. The government could have subsidized wages, preserving the existence and pay level of jobs at the very beginning of the pandemic, like they did in other countries. Property owners were disallowed from collecting rent, yet still had to pay commercial mortgage payments. Instead, the government should have banned the assessment of at least the majority of mortgage payments, including commercial mortgages, by the banks. Now, I know a lot of the capitalists, libertarians are going to say, oh my God, what if somebody took advantage of it? Okay. What if they did? What if they did take advantage of it? What then? All right. If you tell the banks they cannot, assess, you cannot collect mortgage payments, the banks would not have lost anything. They just would not be gaining anything. All right, so if you put a suspension on that, then place a suspension, not moratorium, on rent collection. Okay, that would have solved the problem. We wouldn't even be having the discussion of how many billions or trillions are being lost. The banks are calling it lost revenue. They haven't lost anything. They just have not collected money that they had planned on collecting. There is nothing lost here. And yet, equity, property management companies, banks, all of them, you want to talk about taking advantage. What all of them are going to do is count the lack of rent or lack of mortgage payments as business losses. Losses. They haven't lost anything. All right? That's taking advantage. That means that they will be able to not pay any taxes on, let's say they have $100 billion in lost revenue. Well, now they get to put that against revenue they did collect and not pay taxes on $100 billion of their actual revenue. All right? What does that do? What does that do to the economy? For anybody, any of you libertarians that are worried about, the national deficit, the national debt, what does that do? You don't understand it. You've never thought about it. You haven't even looked at it. No matter what, the foreclosure crisis which is coming, both residential and commercial, will absolutely dwarf the 2008 crash of the housing market. This naturally brings with it an historic crash of the financial services industry. In other words, all these investors are going to be claiming that they lost money, because they didn't collect dividends, because they didn't collect rent, because they didn't, all of this, they're going to claim that they lost something which they haven't lost. And when they lose money, what happens? The people get laid off. So we're going to see millions more people being laid off. Let me go back to that federal unemployment thing in this bill. Something I noticed that I have not heard as yet is that it doesn't state anything going forward with this. The federal unemployment benefits kick in after your state benefits have run out. Well, if you're already on federal unemployment benefits, this bill is going to cover you. But what if you got laid off in June, July, and let's say this week is your last week of state unemployment benefits. Well, what about next week? Does this bill account for you starting to collect federal unemployment benefits next week? I haven't heard any word on this. And if you do know, then please place a link to a line item in this bill. Don't assume anything. Don't think that this is what is going to happen. We can't count on assuming. Anyway, this bill is just, this is a big middle finger to America. The only thing that this is for, alleged political clout. It doesn't help us. It doesn't help the economy. It doesn't help you. It doesn't create jobs. It doesn't create revenue. $1,200 a month is barely survival at the lowest level. So, anyway, please offer your thoughts, share this video, discuss these subjects far and wide. And if you can, which not many of you can, but if you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel, and I will catch you in the next one.